Aurelius, a Roman emperor who lived almost 2,000 years ago, said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Just about 10 years ago, I heard Eckhart Tolle, a contemporary mystic of presence, say it even more simply. That which blocks your way is your way. This, I think, is the secret to healing that's hidden in plain sight. I've been in practice as a health coach for over 15 years, and it took me almost all of that time to identify a major flaw in the industry. It turns out nobody actually wants to get healthy or fit. They definitely don't want to lose weight, me included. I mean, I know, obviously, we all want to be healthy, fit, and slender, but it's the rare person who is at all interested in doing the hard work that it takes to get there. The second problematic flaw is a bit more subtle, and it's really the focus of this talk today. When people do decide to do the hard work to resolve a tricky health issue or make deep changes in their lifestyle habits, sometimes it doesn't quite work. Some issues resolve very easily, things like seasonal bugs or a broken bone or a very specific allergy to a very specific thing. It's clear what to do to fix it. It's possible to do that, and it heals. Those issues are really just a normal part of living in a body on planet Earth. Every living creature experiences this. What I'm talking about are the issues that are a bit different. The ones that arrive and seem to linger longer than they should. The seasonal allergies that turn into sinusitis and then somehow become a chronic cold that lasts for months. Or a creeping clinical depression that doesn't seem to respond at all to any of the medications that you try. Or a back pain or migraines that stick around so long, they just end up becoming part of your daily life. Those kinds of issues are about something more than just being another animal on the planet. The people that I work with typically go through 3 progressive revelations as they walk the path of healing. The first insight is the awareness that something is wrong in a way that's out of the ordinary. Something that causes us enough discomfort that it starts to interfere with the quality of our daily life. The natural inclination, of course, is to try to fix it so it'll go away and leave us alone. If it's a physical issue, we go to a doctor. Mental one, we go to a psychiatrist. For emotional problems, we might see a counselor. For spiritual problems, maybe we approach our minister if we're religious. Or we might look to a system like yoga or a practice like mindfulness. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes it can even resolve the issue. But often something else happens. Something curious. The problem doesn't always stay put. Pain is an excellent example of this. You might be feeling super sad and stressed in what we might call emotional pain. With some support, you finally start to feel a little calmer. But suddenly, your neck goes out, or your digestion goes on the fritz. It's like that pain jumped right out of your emotions and into your body. It can go in the other direction, too. Have you ever been in a physically super demanding situation, like at the end of a long run or at the end of a long yoga pose, a hold, where your body's screaming just a little bit, and suddenly you feel something like a release and start crying for no reason? This may never have happened to you personally, but it's actually very common. And it's also why I work out in my basement and not in the gym. In our healing culture, it turns out that this can be really, really problematic. Why? Because if your chronic neck tension suddenly turns into anxiety Your doctor or physical therapist runs right out of rope, don't they? They can't follow that pain over there to help you because that is out of their field. Or maybe you suspect that your anxiety gets worse when you eat certain kinds of foods, or even when you eat too much sugar. Your poor psychologist is going to run out of rope to help you there too. Or what if you reach out to a pastor because you're feeling lost about your life's purpose and you develop an autoimmune disorder out of nowhere? They will also run out of rope. Medical research is bearing out this notion that health issues cross the mind-body barrier. It turns out that experiencing severe childhood trauma puts you at roughly the same risk for developing coronary heart disease as eating fast food several times a week. This is a well-established fact, even if your diet is exquisitely clean. What is a doctor or a dietitian supposed to do with that? Or a psychologist? The second common insight on the healing path is often, sadly, that no one seems to be able to help me fix this problem. There's a fork in the road now, and people usually take one path or the other. The path people take most often is to start to believe that the problem is just unfixable. And that's really tough, because if the problem's a challenging one, that can actually lead to despair. The second path is taken much more rarely. That path is to start to question the nature of the problem itself, or of our healing systems. In my case, I took that second fork and went a lot farther down the path than most people do. I started exploring, first for my own mysterious health issues, and then I kept exploring for others. I developed a lifestyle change program and ran it in a clinical setting, a hospital, for 8 years. I trained deeply in multiple emotional healing modalities. I went to another school and got board certified as a nutrition expert. I worked with many of the top people in that field, with the state health department and even the CDC. I went to seminary, studied the world's major religions, and became an interfaith minister. From the outside, that all probably looks a little like ADD, or maybe just a commitment issue, especially my family, and that may be part of it. But from the inside, it has been a powerfully illuminating journey. I kept moving on because in each of those fields, I would eventually run out of rope. The sad truth is that right now, as a country, we're pretty darn sick. We seem to be getting sicker. I won't get into the statistical specifics because, frankly, it's just too depressing. But suffice it to say that we are plagued with mental, physical, and spiritual health epidemics that are overwhelming our national healthcare system. And we don't have good solutions. I'll share with you that in working with the CDC about 15 years ago on a statewide investigation into the causes of obesity, they disclosed that their goal wasn't actually to reverse the issue, but just to try to slow the rate of growth. I put it to you that the model on which we base our entire healing system is fundamentally flawed. By dividing ourselves up into parts like machines, by separating body, mind, and spirit into distinct categories with distinct stewards, and requiring that steward training stay restricted to one category only, we have hobbled ourselves. By cutting the rope into many pieces, no one steward now seems to have enough of it to help pull us up out of these health holes. We in the West have been fooled into thinking that humans are made up of separate components that can be tuned, cared for, and healed separately. If you, like me, have spent any time working in more than one of these different arenas, or if you're from the Far East, it's pretty obvious that we are much more like one interconnected network than a machine with distinct parts. The fact that our issues seem to be able to travel at will between body, mind, and spirit lends credence to this model of a network. And ancient healing systems in the East, like Ayurveda from India or traditional Chinese medicine, have always viewed us that way. They've in fact mapped the whole network pretty effectively, even to the point of connecting certain organs with certain emotions and identifying release points on the body for pain that hops between them. Acupuncture. So if we're not a machine, but a network, here's the big question. What the heck are we a network for? Our problems, those pains, they're like roadblocks in this network system of highways. When we can't get rid of them, when they just seem to shift around, or worse, when they hunker down and don't move at all, draining all the joy from our lives, right there, that is the opportunity for the deepest healing possible. That which stands in the way is the way. What flows through that network? What exactly is being blocked by our problems? What, in fact, is our true nature? It has been called by dozens of names over the millennia. Pneuma, Shakti, Chi, Mana, Prana, Brahman, the Holy Spirit, the unified field, the void, the Tao, life energy, the force. I just call it flow. Around the year 500, Sankara, a great teacher of the Hindu Vedas, described it simply as the air in a jar. The Western world, and maybe most of the world, is almost exclusively focused on the jar. That's what we think we are. That's what we're trying to heal. The container. And it's true, the jar can get cracked. It can get coated. It can get dim. The lid can dent. It can get punctured. It can leak. And that feels just awful. So by all means, polish the jar. Plug the leaks. This is my career. This is what I try to help people do. You'll have more energy. You'll feel better. You'll look brighter. But let me share with you the third and final insight so common on the healing path, which is also the third and I think fatal flaw in my industry. Even when we do get exactly the healing we want, most of the time, it turns out not to be the thing we were looking for after all. The truth is, what you want isn't actually a healthy, a slender, or a fit body. Nobody believes that, but I swear it's true. Let me prove it to you with a little scenario. If I waved a magic wand and you got that, right now, this second, your body, mind, and spirit were magically healed and suddenly perfect, but I also buried you in a small hole underground, alone, with food pellets and water for the rest of your life. Your perfect health wouldn't actually do it for you anymore, would it? It is not a healthy mind. It's not a healthy body. It's not even healing itself that we truly want. It's the feeling state, the direct experience of the loving, connected, energetic force that you actually already are. Eventually, every single jar, even the healthiest, sparkliest ones, will wear out, break, and turn back into sand. but the air inside it never leaves. It's not changed in any way by the jar that temporarily contained it. It just merges back into the air that was always all around it. It is everywhere and nowhere, always moving, perfectly still. It is endlessly creative. You are that.